Oh, Belina Maikako, aloha, and welcome to Spark and Inspire Week 2020. You made it. You are in for an amazing evening. Last year, near to this time, we gathered at the Hawaii State Capitol Auditorium, and this year, we're broadcasting live online. And so, like everyone impacted by this pandemic, we had to rethink and reimagine how we would gather this week in meaningful ways to celebrate, our shining star teachers and projects that really reflect the spirit of aloha and of resilience and of equity and social change. Like, these are the perfect reasons for us to gather at this time. These are moments woven into the way that we come together, how we craft time to celebrate, and how we mark time as a community family. So we're so glad to share this time with all of you this evening. Before we jump into it, it's my honor to introduce the two amazing leads behind this beautiful event. I have Jill Baldemore, Executive Director for Teach for America Hawaii, and David Miyashiro, Executive Director for Hawaii Kids Can.
Aloha and welcome, everyone. We're so glad to have you here at Spark and Inspire Week 2020. Last year, Teach for America Hawaii and Hawaii Kids Can join hands to launch Spark and Inspire, an event to celebrate and share some of the innovative work happening here in our Hawaii schools. Both our organizations share a vision of all students having access to a high-quality education that opens doors of opportunity. At Teach for America, our focus is on developing leaders who contribute to systemic change starting in the classroom.
Great to be here with you, Jill, and everybody else. At Hawaii Kids Can, we advocate for a more innovative and equitable education system through policy, community organizing, and research. Our work includes our WAVE program, which empowers students to speak out for real policy change in education. So together, our joint hope with Spark and Inspire is to shine a light on the innovative work that's already happening in our schools and to spark and inspire new ideas and innovations that will further enrich opportunities for our keiki. I think we can all agree, more than ever, it's clear that the complex challenges our local and global communities face will require responsive, community-led solutions.
So a year after our inaugural launch, we are all trying to be innovators in our own way as we pivot and learn and try new things to adjust to this most unusual time. For some of us, that might be a bit challenging, but for our teachers and educators, they are made for this moment. Every day, our teachers, administrators, and countless educators bring passion, positivity, innovation, and entrepreneurship to their work here in Hawaii. Much like entrepreneurs, they have identified something that's missing in the market. They've been creative in designing an initiative, and they are resilient in finding resources. But unique to educators, at the very heart of all their initiatives is a deep belief in our kids and communities and a desire to positively contribute to education here in Hawaii. So we call them edupreneurs. Entrepreneur plus educator equals edupreneur.
So last year, 4 groups of local edupreneurs shared their innovations, and it has been awesome to see their work continue. So for example, Maestros Vibe, the podcast crew, used their grant from Spark and Inspire to purchase new equipment and handle LLC fees. Their podcast is now accessible on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Spotify, and they have recorded nearly 30 episodes since Spark and Inspire 2019, with an average of 500 listeners a month. To support Spark and Inspire 2020, they recorded episodes with each current presenter group, and they'll be moderating audience Q&A later this evening. Bill Chen and Matthew Williams also used their grant, and they used it for tech and video camera supplies to run monthly pop-ups for their shared STEM learning space. They've been hosting monthly co-designer meetings where parents, community members, and most importantly, students are part of designing and driving the space. And they have plans to apply for a number of Innovation Accelerator and Social Innovation Awards and grants. So this year, Spark and Inspire will highlight the innovative work of 3 new groups of edupreneurs.
Now, as we work to reimagine this event, we've leaned into the very values of Spark and Inspire: innovation, agility, and community partnership. Tonight, you all will be able to participate from the comfort of your own home, allowing us to connect across different islands and even states. The incredible filmmaking of Leah Lucine Carey has captured the passions of our presenters and will bring you directly into their communities and classrooms. And you, the audience, have a very important role to play. Whether you're joining us live on Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube, we're hoping all of you will use Slido to share your questions and reactions and help make tonight a conversation across our community. We also want to thank our 9 resource experts who will join us throughout this week to share their mana'o. Big mahalo to Cece Chung, 2020 Hawaii State Teacher of the Year, teacher at Ka'imiloa Elementary, and 2013 Teach for America Hawaii alum.
Mahina Kaishan Duarte, Managing Partner and Co-Founder of Bye Bye Collective.
Jessica Kaneakua, Community Change Initiatives Lead at Lili'uo Kalani Trust.
Lauren Name, Vice President of Strategy and Transformation at Kamehameha Schools.
Ed No, Executive Director, the Leadership Institute at the Hawaii State Department of Education.
Catherine Payne, Chairperson of the Hawaii State Board of Education.
Tara Shibuya, Director of Scholarship Administration, Hawaii Community Foundation.
Ben Trevino, Sustainability Planner, Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation.
And Phyllis Unebasami, Deputy Superintendent of the Hawaii State Department of Education.
So tonight, we're thrilled to be joined by Cece, Catherine, Ed, and Ben. And of course, last but certainly not least, we want to give a huge, huge, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Public Schools of Hawaii Foundation, Hawaiian Telcom, AT&T, Student Corner, Maestro's Vibe, and our amazing MC for the evening, Elena Farden. Elena is the Executive Director of the Native Hawaiian Education Council, and she is an awesome community partner. So mahalo to all of you for being here and joining us live. Have a wonderful evening. Elena, take it away.
I'm here now. Tonight, we're sparking momentum and uplifting our talented entrepreneurs and inspiring community to make space to build bigger dreams together. So our flow for the evening will begin with a presenter video, followed by a discussion with our resource experts, and then rounded up with the audience Q&A expertly handled by Maestro's Vibe. For our audience, we'll be using Slido as our platform to source your questions and wonderings. So no matter if you're watching on Zoom or Facebook or YouTube, this will be our central platform throughout the evening to share your feedback with the presenter. You can also access Slido on your smartphone. So simply use a camera on your phone. You'll aim it at the QR code image you see on the screen, and it'll automatically take you to our Slido page. If that doesn't work, you can go to app.sli.do, that's app Slido, on your phone or computer and punch in the code. It's # 39221. That's 39221. So to familiarize everyone with the platform, let's go to Slido now for a quick poll. When you can see the poll, go ahead and answer the question that's listed. What makes a great community event? Let's take a minute for folks to try this out. All right, we got a lot of sense of belonging, followed by collaboration. Let's see. More sense of belonging. Awesome. Strong partnerships and innovation still in there, but it looks like sense of belonging is our top key area element of what makes a community great. As for the virtual pitches start, stay in Slido event, but move over to the Q&A section. All you have to do now is add your questions and comments and encouragement in this section, or you can add a thumbs up to comment that you agree with, and those comments will be voted up. And this means they have a higher likelihood of getting asked during the moderated audience Q&A session. So without further ado, let's meet our presenters. So like peanuts and paydays and Marleys and reggae, some things are just best in twos. And all the way from Wheeler Middle School, we have a tag team duo of Lauren Tanner and Olga Dolgopolova. Laura is math and science, and Olga is English and social studies. And together, they're putting students at the center and fighting for learning access for all. Let's show you these awesome presenters in action.
For me, it all started in a library. I had the opportunity to go to a local suburban public school and read with kindergartners and work on their literacy skills. And after school, through a different organization, I had the opportunity to go work with 3rd through 5th graders at a branch off the public library in the inner city. These schools were about 10 minutes away from each other. However, the 3rd through 5th graders I worked with had far lower literacy skills than the kindergartners I worked with from the suburban areas. This was my first encounter with the education gap that sparked me to get into education, and I wanted to ensure that in my classroom, I wouldn't let these things hinder students from becoming successful.
But I still didn't really understand where the equity gap was in our society. I fulfilled my major and moved to Brazil for 2 years. That's where I really saw a big gap between different levels of income as well as access to education. What could I do to make a difference in this equity gap? And so I thought back to the classroom and I realized that that is really the route that I want to take for the rest of my life.
I came across Teach for America and I read their vision, and I saw in front of me a part that says, one day all students will have access to an excellent education. And in that moment, I realized that this is the path that will lead me to my destiny.
Our school is really unique because it services over 96% of military impacted students.
Driving onto base every morning is an experience. You see military police, guns, and you roll on past a big helicopter and police cars, and then pull into our middle school parking lot.
And that's a really interesting and challenging experience because our students come from so many different backgrounds. Although they come usually for 2 to 3 years, we see them leave very quickly afterwards.
I was used to moving a lot, so it was nothing brand new.
It was pretty sad because right now I don't get to see my mother and my brothers and sisters. And yeah. Well, yeah. I want to get off the island. Yeah.
It breaks my heart to see them not feel like they belong in a place and not appreciating what is offered here.
Well, I'm actually a local, so I live in Mililani. Most of the people here, I feel like, who are military, like they really don't like locals. They'll say like a lot of things about them. Sometimes that can make me like uncomfortable. I try not to get offended because I feel like because of the military, they can't really know what it really is like here. Like, things like the rail or like Mauna Kea, stuff like that, we're not afraid to say what we're about.
I feel like I can see and sense an almost tangible divide between two communities, the local community and the military community.
I realized that there was an urgency to create a sense of belonging and connect to students in Hawaii. Although students may leave to another location with their parents' next rotation, they can harbor lifelong values that they can pass to others. If they can take away something from their experience here, let it be at least the power of aloha.
In Hawaii, that's why I really love living here, is because we all really have each other's back, even strangers.
They're not like my old friends. My old friends, we help each other out and everything.
I feel everyone here is so nice, and we try to be respectful and take care of our lands.
Since it's been 2.5 years on this island, only been the few fun places on the island, but the rest haven't been yet.
I feel maybe if they were more aware of how it is here and how nice the people are.
Well, I only left the base to only go to football practice, and that's kind of it.
And maybe if they just knew, because sometimes living on base, you won't really know how it is off base. People who are, I think, military have a lot more stories than usually locals, because they've been around the world a lot. I think we can break the boundary by having more communication with each other, just knowing that it really shouldn't matter where you're from or if you're local or not. If we're able to break that boundary, you could say, we can have so many more ideas and even just make our whole school better, you know?
We need to unite the citizens of Wahiawa. Our program will do just that. We will bring together military and local students, and together they will be able to tackle issues within the Wahiawa community, one project at a time. Build a Bridge will be an after-school program that will propel students from Wheeler Middle and Wahiawa Middle to tackle community issues through collaboration and innovation. Students will identify community challenges and work together to solve them.
This is just one small example of how our classroom communities have come together, saw an issue, the lack of a sense of belonging in our school, and solved it using creative thinking and came up with the idea of this bench project. Imagine if they were to go out into our community
and solve real-world issues without any barriers or constraints on what they can do. They can innovate, they can create, they can design, and they can make this world a better place. Imagine what could happen.
Mahalo, Laura, and mahalo, Olga. Joining our presenters tonight will be our diverse resource experts. Starting first, we have Cecilia C.C. Chung. She's a sixth grade teacher at Kaimiloi Elementary School in Eva Beach and a 2013 Teach for America Hawaii alum. Cece is also the 2020 Hawaii State Teacher of the Year and President-elect for the Hawaii Society for Technology and Education. Welcome, Cece. Second up, we have Ed No, the Executive Director for the Leadership Institute at the Hawaii State Department of Education. Ed most recently served as the School Director for Ka'ohau School, and his educational career spans from the classroom to principalship to district and state positions. Following Ed, we have Catherine Payne, the current chairperson for the Hawaii State Board of Education, the primary policy-making body for Hawaii public education and library systems. Catherine's nearly 4-decade career has included roles as principal, complex area superintendent, and charter school commissioner. Welcome, Catherine. And then rounding up the group, we have Ben Trevino. He is an experienced executive entrepreneur and technologist. He currently serves as a Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation Sustainability Planner. Prior to that, he was president and COO of Bikeshare Hawaii. I am going to start asking our resource experts to share some initial reaction or questions, but while I do, I really want to encourage our audience to really get your questions into Slido. This will be an opportunity to ask any questions that our resource experts might miss, especially ones that you are really passionate about. So first up, I'll ask Cece, can you share some initial reactions that you have to Olga and Lauren's project?
Thanks so much, Elena. Wow, first of all, thank you so much. It's so great being here with all of you. This is a cool space to be in right now. And my reaction, I'm just so, I don't know what the word is, just so inspired. I thought what was really strong was the ability that you guys both did to create a new community out of two, what you know, seemingly divided communities, to create like a brand new culture with these students. And I thought that was incredibly strong. One question I did have about, because I saw that you had requested the 12-person band, I was really curious about what you were planning to do with that. You know, if the kids were going to be going to different communities. And yeah, I just had a lot of thoughts around that. But I was very inspired. I think that sense of belonging is hard to build when there are within a community itself such diverse backgrounds of the students, and to be able to sort of grow that culture is a really powerful thing. So great job. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Cece. I'll start us off, and Olga and I will just kind of flip back and forth, I guess. Yeah, so we, like Elena had said, sense of belonging seemed to rank big with you guys as far as it's really important in a community. But really all 5 of those whole options, so sense of belonging, diversity, strong partnerships, collaboration, innovation, are all super important, and we feel like our project encompasses all of them. So we just kind of wanted to connect that poll back to our project and show how important this really is. But with the van, that is one of our asks. We've got 4 main asks, and I think Olga can kind of go over those a little bit later with you guys. But one of our asks is for transportation. So we want to be able to get students together. So from both of these schools into one common space. So at one of the schools or in another space, if we're able to find a partnership that allows for that. But being able to bring 10 students from Wheeler Middle School as our first pilot program, and then 10 students from Wahiawa Middle School together once a week to meet and collaborate and exchange ideas and exchange their culture and just really share their stories. And then obviously for any type of community outreach that we're needing to do, we would also utilize that van.
Mahalo. Next up, Ed, I can see that the students here in this program are also making connections, but they're also leading, being very much leaders in how they do that. So I'm wondering if you might want to share some of your initial reactions and thoughts, or maybe wonderings about the project.
Yeah, thank you for having us me here. I feel very honored and definitely inspired by this project. I love how you began by saying you read the 2030 Promise Plan and you responded. And I just felt like that was a wonderful way to really localize the learning here. And you also are really thoughtful about scaling up. And I think the pictures on the video, the smiling faces of the students, I think speaks volumes to what you're able to achieve. So again, congratulations. I guess the question I have in the light of, or in the spirit of innovation, Jill had mentioned the ability to be agile, and definitely we've all pivoted since we went into distance learning. And my question is, how will you pivot your project in light of, in terms of your outcomes in light of COVID-19?
Lauren, I know you answered the last one. Do you want me to go on this one? Awesome, perfect. So, I mean, COVID-19 has recreated what we look at learning to begin with. I know our students have always told us that we want engaging lessons and we want things to be exciting. And as we got into COVID-19, Lauren and I thought about how can we make that possible with all of this distance in between us and our students. And so we started to use these digital platforms and other ways to create engaging lessons. And that almost was part of this whole innovation aspect. We understood that really we can overcome barriers and it's not as difficult as we initially imagined. And so that brings me back to collaboration and innovation. As we think about collaboration, especially across distance divides, geographical divides, we have the platforms necessary to make this possible. And so at the end of the day, this just made me think that really there is no limit to where this project can go. It's totally transferable. It's not just about the military divide between the local community. All it really is about taking different students who are from different backgrounds, blending that into a diverse situation, and having those students learn from each other to create something that we as adults probably can't even imagine. So who knows where this is going to take us, but I think it's going to be something great.
Thanks. Thanks, Olga. And awesome. Catherine, in your unique position as a policy-making body for the Board of Education and your vast experience in education, wondering what are some things that you're seeing that kind of shape your questions or wonderings about this project?
Well, thank you again for having me. I really was very impressed. And I think what you've hit through this project is really a core value that we have as a system and as a state. And that's breaking down the stereotypes and finding who the people are beneath them. And if we can help our young people do this while they're in our classrooms, I think you will change the world. And I'm so impressed with what you have already started to do. I know that you had your pilot, but that just included the students from your school. But I noticed there was at least one student who was speaking in the video that is not a military child, and you have a small percentage of students who are not. And so I was wondering if, as you started to talk about this project with your students, if there were already some things that maybe began to happen between the military students and the few that are not military, the local kids on your campus, that gave you some insight into what might be coming.
Yeah, I can take that one, Olga. So right away, we were super upfront with our students when we had received our panorama data back and their sense of belonging ranked so low. So we told our students that, and we kind of brainstormed with both of our homerooms about how can we fix this? How can we make it better? And so we had a lot of really interesting dialogue between students, but then they ended up coming up with this painting a bench project. So again, that was just between our homeroom, so about 60 students total. So they all do go to Wheeler Middle, but they definitely have a bunch of differences within them. So it was really cool to see how they worked together on one common goal. And then they loved being able to see, unfortunately for not as long as we had hoped, but being able to see their painted bench outside of their homeroom. It just really built some camaraderie between the students. As far as students who are attending Wheeler Middle School, but maybe aren't affiliated with the military, we had, Olga and myself had some really cool conversations with a smaller group of students. We were actually asking for some art help to create a logo. So the logo that you saw at the end of the video was actually designed by one of our students. And really, they just expressed extreme desire to go through with this project, and they thought it would be so amazing and so awesome, and they want to collaborate with people who are from Wahiawa Middle, especially our students who are from the local community, so they maybe already live near or know some of the students who go to that school. And then through sports, we get to play each other in schools, and some of the kids are on club teams like volleyball, and et cetera. I've coached volleyball, so that's just what I know most. And they love getting to interact with each other or through a track meet. So they just express an extreme desire to get to know each other's stories and to interact past kind of the barriers that are already put in place.
And then to jump into that, I think just overall, children are excited. And as we grow older to become adults, and I don't know what happens in between, but either we diminish that excitement as adults naturally to conform to the status quo, but I think children are interesting in the sense that they still harbor that excitement. And when you present an opportunity to them, they jump in head first and they're ready to do it. And so that's what I think that's what Lauren and I want to capitalize on. I do think that they have the excitement and the urgency to work together. They want to make a difference. They are in this process to be prepared for college and career readiness. They know the skills that they need to be successful, and we teach about them in the classroom, but here's an opportunity to actually practice those skills. And I think that's the key to making this whole thing come to fruition.
Hello, Lauren and Olga. We have a few minutes left, but I want to make sure we also hear from Ben. Ben, super curious to hear from you, and also wondering how a sense of community fits in with entrepreneurship and technology. What are some of your wonderings that you have?
Yeah, thank you. I know we're short on time, but I do really want to just hit out. I think you hit on so many beautiful things with this idea. You know, the sense of the depth of sense of belonging, I think, is probably something that now more than most times, I think we're feeling how important that is to us, you know, as we all kind of struggle with isolation, figure out what, you know, what does it mean? What are these feelings that we're kind of dealing with? And I think it gives us some insight into what a student coming into a new school for the first time might be feeling. And so I think it's a really rich time for us to be thinking about this particular project. I also wanted to share a quick story. An organization that I do a lot of volunteer work with, Code for America, which was largely inspired by Teach for America in some of its early models, just hired a new CEO. And I got to meet her today virtually and hear what she had to say in terms of her vision for the organization. And the metaphor that she brought up, like her key metaphor about what has been important to her throughout her career, was building bridges. And you know, for that to come up, I think in that conversation, something that's the center point for this whole organization. It's its fulcrum. And I think for you to identify that and have it be related to this sense of belonging, I think is really powerful. I think it speaks to how powerful the note that you've struck is. So kudos for that. I want to applaud you for that. The questions that I have, you know, in terms of community and the role community can play, I'd love to hear about who you hope to partner with. Who are you excited to partner with in the Wahiawa community? And to Wahiawa and Wheeler as places specifically, what is the role of place? What is the role of those specific places in the work that you're doing and in the bridges that you're building? Those are my questions.
Awesome. Lauren, you want to start and I'll add on?
Yeah, I can start this one. So we've actually we have connected obviously with our administration at our school. So we both teach at Wheeler Middle School. And we have some friends who are colleagues at Wahiawa Middle School who we first connected with, who are teachers there. And then our vice principal actually used to work at, or for a short time worked at Wahiawa Middle School. So we kind of have a lot of connections already. So we have connected with Ursula, the principal at Wahiawa Middle School, and she is super excited about this. And then we have connected with our district superintendent, Bob Davis, as well, and he's very excited about this. So we have the school DOE support, and I think we're pretty good to go on that. Now we need to just reach out to the community. So we have some names through these connections actually of strategic people to reach out to who are just leaders in the community. Either they are just admired by a lot of people or maybe have a local business in the community. And we absolutely hope to partner with them. We have connected with some people from the local YMCAs who could potentially help us. We're looking for anybody who can help support this project, but also anybody in the community who knows where needs are, because this project, we need support, but we're also exist to give support and to strengthen this community. So I guess I say we hope to partner with as many people as possible, and we hope to have very key and strong partnerships. And that is one of our asks is for a part-time coordinator whose job is primarily to strengthen partnerships and make sure that they keep on and that we are serving the community to the best of our ability. And I'll let Olga jump in.
Yeah, that was perfect, Lauren. And something I wanted to add on is we're here today because we think that everyone watching and everyone who might not be watching are experts in their own way, shape, and form.
And so we're coming to you all with open hearts and open minds to seek your advice and guidance. And we also look at you as very potential community contributors. And as we think about the projects, and Ben, I think this might be very direct to your question, but also to what you do with your profession, we're really thinking about sustainability in our community and how we can make sustainable communities with our students at the center of this whole collaboration. And so as students work together, we want to connect to partners and create partnerships that will be very in line with the very community projects that students will be working on. And I can give you a list of those, but I mean, some ideas. Again, we want this to be completely student driven, as the Promise Plan indicates. And as we have seen in our own personal classrooms, that's where we get the most achievement. That's where we get the most engagement and sense of belonging. So as students pinpoint these specific issues that are close to their hearts, we want to think about the housing population, sustainability, the issue of plastic, things that are in our modern day world right now, and who are the partners that are tied to those key issues, and how can we work with them so that we can create great outcomes.
Lauren and Olga, thank you so much. And of course, thank you to our resource expert team, Catherine, Ben, Ed, and Cecilia. So this time, we are going to move it over to our audience Q&A. And to help us with this, we have someone that's on my morning podcast playlist. And this dynamic team were also presenters at last year's Spark and Inspire. So they're here with us this evening, Maestro's Vibe. Their podcast description says, our journey to discover powerful educators and teaching strategies to empower teacher and student voice. We develop relationships to strengthen our collective sense of breath from Naho Panoa'o with insights about teaching in Hawaii. An engaging podcast for sure, but I encourage you folks to check out their Facebook page for all their artist renderings. I'm a huge Instant fan. So I'm excited to introduce our co-pilots this evening. It's 3 teachers, all schools, and 1 mic. Applause, please, for Karina, Juan, and Kevin of Maestro's Vibe.
Hey, thank you so much. Big mahalo and aloha. My name is Juan Espinal. I'm here with Maestro's Vibe. Tonight, we are the voice of the people. So please remember to get your voice heard by putting your questions, comments in the Slido and on the Facebook live chat. Speaking of questions, Karina, what's that first one you got for him?
All right, we're going to start with our most popular question at the moment from Slido. The question is, do you have plans for how your project can be sustainable over time?
We do have plans of how this project can be sustainable over time. Lauren and I have thought about this continuously, and I think there are multiple key points to address. The first is something that we've mentioned before, is community partnerships. I think if we have those strong community partnerships, there really is no limit to where this project can go. The second part is the student piece, how students will be at the forefront of this. We mentioned how we want to teach students 21st century skills. And part of those skills are outreach and fundraising. And so, yes, we have certain costs that are just short-term costs. But for those other costs that are continuous, we completely have full faith in our students and know that with our support, they can fully find those additional partnerships and create whatever income they need to sustain their projects. And then on top of that, I think the most important piece is that this project is transferable. This is a model or a pilot program for what this project can be. And I think from the surface, it might look like it's really to solve this divide between the military community and the local community, but it's beyond that. This project is about taking 2 different groups of individuals, bridging the gap, and having them interact with each other to achieve something great. And I can totally foresee this project at any school, any location. Lauren and I were talking about adjacent islands. I don't think there's a limit to where this project can go because diversity is everywhere. And so if we combine those 3 pieces, this project can be sustainable. And I do think we'll have community buy-in regardless of the geographical location.
Thank you so much for that answer.
Awesome, no problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, for our next question, folks out there, don't forget to keep putting your questions into the Slido app and Facebook Live. We're going to go with a question that is on folks' minds, and people are really interested in hearing the ideas on how to make this program both accessible to the Wheeler Middle School students along with the Wahiwa students, with base access being a physical boundary.
I can take that one, Olga. That's a great question, and I think it has a semi-short answer. I know that visitors can come onto the base because I've brought visitors onto the base. We also have hosted a soccer game every year and outside events where students from other schools have come to the school. As far as on a regular weekly basis, which is what we're hoping for meetings, it may look like, depending on just ease of access, meeting at an external location. That could be Wahiwa Middle School, or it could even be, like we said, if we find a partnership such as a YMCA or any other local group who's willing to host us in their space as well, we could look into that. So we are flexible on where we're meeting as long as the students are able to all come together. And we do want students to come onto base who don't live on base to see it. But if it's a big, long process, then we may not do that every week. So as equally emerged into each other's areas as possible, but also thinking about logistics.
And if I can jump in, I think this is a great opportunity to talk about logistics, because I think that is still a question in a lot of people's minds. What is this going to look like? And that directly kind of correlates to the question being asked. So what Lauren and I have devised is a plan to have 10 students from each school. So 10 students from Wheeler Middle School, 10 students from Wahiwa Middle School. There will be a teacher from each organization or each school to kind of oversee the selection process and guide those 10 students. Once a week, those students will get together and work on community issues. There's 5 phases to the project, and we can go into specifics later if that's necessary. But basically across those 5 phases, this is where students, and this is where I want to stress, students identify the projects or the community issues that they want to tackle. And together they create a timeline using the skills that Lauren and I have developed through extensive PD opportunities, through PD3 on innovation and design thinking, to understand how they're going to tackle those issues, but also how can they reflect and receive that feedback to grow and become better. So this is a sustainable venture. And once that's done, at the end of the year, we hope to have this big event where, kind of like in the form of a Hawai'i presentation, where students share some of the things that they worked on, but also where they can further bring in family members and other community members to celebrate their growth. One thing that I thought was really important is to think about students reflecting and thinking about how they can grow this project to be something of a bigger venture. And so I think that part kind of starts the process of it all. But afterwards, some people ask, well, is this going to be one project or multiple projects in a year? Again, I think this is the beauty of student voice. I think it's going to depend on where students want to take this further and how long each project will take.
That really is amazing. It sounds like it's all about student involvement, which brings me to our next question, another popular question from the audience out there. How can we get involved?
I'm so glad you asked. Olga, I'll start and then you can kind of go from there. So we would love for all of you to be involved. And Olga already mentioned a couple of ways. We have mentioned a few throughout the program, but we will spell them out straight for you right now. We have 4 major asks in order for this project to come to fruition. Our first ask is for transportation. We need some sort of way to get students into one space so that they can collaborate. So whether that's through funds for renting buses or through a donation of a van or a partnership with someone who does have a van who's willing to spend their time once a week transporting our kids. So that's our first ask, and I'm going to throw it to Olga for the second.
Second ask. we need funds. And what do those funds look like? And Lauren and I have created a very specific budget outline. We have created a time outline, and we can share those with anyone interested. But overall, our funds kind of simmer down to these categories: project materials, such as technology for students, teacher stipends, and the funds can also cover the transportation need be if we don't have access to a physical van, for example.
Awesome. And the third ask I touched on a little bit, but we are hoping to get some sort of part-time coordinator who oversees the project to aid in its sustainability, we truly believe, but also to be the liaison between the two schools and the partnerships in the community. So we think that that would require a position such as a part-time coordinator. It could look a bunch of different ways, like an internship, things like that. But we do think that in order for this to be the best program possible, that we would need a part-time coordinator overseeing all of the operations.
And the last thing is mentorship. And I mentioned this prior at the beginning of the presentation. We really look at you as experts and contributors to this project, irrelevant of your background or who you are. The idea of just you being here and being present lets us know that you are invested. And so we look to you for advice, for guidance, and that alone will suffice in helping us grow and elevate this project. And I want to kind of bring it to this last and most important thing. And I actually listened to this very recently, and it resonated very well with me. And this is part of our closing here. When we go to bed at night, the things that keep us up at night and don't let us sleep are not the things that we have. They're the things that we don't have or that we know we lost. Those are the things that keep us up. And as we think about this project, I know Lauren and I outlined in our video and in this presentation a whole bunch of gains, things that will be positive to our community. But what I want us to think about is the detriment or the gap that will continue to grow if we don't have this project. And Lauren mentioned this prior, but the funny things about gaps is that they get bigger and bigger and bigger if you don't address them. And so we look to you to help bridge that gap and diminish the loss that we're going to experience every day if we don't build a bridge to become what it needs to be.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies, for this amazing presentation. And remember, audience, to continue this conversation, check them out on Student Corner, Spark and Inspire, Build a Bridge, so that you can help support with the 4 steps and everything else about this amazing program. Thank you so much. Karina here.
Mahalo for leading the great discussion, the Maestro's Vibe. Make sure you check them out, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. We're also incredibly grateful to have Student Corner as a first-time sponsor this year. The Student Corner is a web platform that showcases student work, and it's a brainchild of UH Hilo computer science student, George Donev. Student Corner's user base has been growing exponentially, and it saved the 2020 Hawaii State and Engineering Fair by enabling submissions from more than 400 participants to go virtual on its platform. So all the projects are viewable on the public and Student Corner site. And as we near the end of our night, we want to welcome back Jill and David to close this out.
Hi, everybody. I don't know about you, but that flew by. It was so much fun getting to spend time with you. So mahalo to our presenters, resource experts, Maestro's Vibe, and all of you for making these virtual pitches come to life. It's awesome to see the energy we can create together, even if we're separated physically. So before we formally close out the night, we wanted to extend one last mahalo to the folks and organizations who made this week possible. So thank you so much to the Public Schools of Hawaii Foundation, AT&T, and Hawaiian Telecom for supporting Spark and Inspire for 2 years in a row. The Public Schools of Hawaii Foundation has generously provided $2,500 seed grants to each presenter group to boost their projects immediately. Thank you so much to our resource experts tonight, Cece, Catherine, Ed, and Ben, and to Maestro's Vibe and Student Corner, Juan Espinal, Kevin Argueta, Karina Hernandez, and George Donev. Mahalo to the coaches who helped to support our presenters, including Bella Hughes from Shakati. Mahalo to Ken Hiraki, Liz Songvile, Ani Menon, and Francis Cho for their partnership as well. And last but certainly not least, thank you to the students who've been helping out with our live stream, Hokulani Mustafa and Aaron Enriquez.
Now, while we couldn't gather in person this year, we also want to send our aloha to Kawai'i and Waipahu High School's Culinary Arts Program for being a part of our original Spark and Inspire plan for 2020. We hope to partner with you again in the not too distant future. Again, thank you to all of you watching for participating with us tonight. We hope this experience is the start of your partnership with our presenters. We encourage you to follow their progress on Student Corner and support them as they pursue their vision. Most of all, we hope you are leaving tonight sparked and inspired by the innovative work happening in our schools and all that we can accomplish as a community together. Mahalo nui and a hui hou.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure to check out Student Corner to learn more about their awesome project today, and then the 2 more that are coming up. We'll see you the same time, same place, the next 2 nights. So can't wait to see you all again.
Great job, Lauren and Olga. You guys killed it.
Yay!